안녕하세요.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to extend my deepest congratulations for the opening of the Social Enterprise Leaders Forum 2021, and I'd like to thank the organizers and the host for inviting me. Today, I would like to talk about the evolution of the social economy in the age of great transition. I am Kim Yong-jin, Professor of Business Management at Seogang University. Glad to meet you. First, these are the contents that I'd like to cover. With COVID-19 ingrained in every corner of our lives, I would like to talk about the socio-economic impact of COVID-19, how we should understand digital transformation and ESG in that context, and how we should understand businesses are addressing digital transformation and ESG issues, and how should social economy enterprises respond to them. As you are well aware, after 2008, the world has faced a new phenomenon called the new normal. Before 2008, we had experienced high growth, high price, and high interest rates. But after 2008, the world has been facing low growth, low price, and low interest rates. And we call this the new normal. But with the outbreak of COVID-19, we can well say that the new normal is back. But then, although we talk about digitalization and ESG these days, I believe that the new normal would be best expressed by the concept of VUCA. VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. First, volatility. It means that the speed of change is extremely high. Second, uncertainty, which means we don't know what will happen tomorrow. Third is complexity. The situation being extremely complex, it becomes very difficult to make a decision. In other words, we have to take into account numerous variables when making a decision. Some people even say that a butterfly in New York flapping its wings may finally cause a storm in Beijing. The world is intricately connected, which makes it extremely difficult to link the cause to an outcome. The last point is ambiguity. In the past, it was quite easy to identify the cause and effect. So if we do X, then we could achieve Y. That's what used to happen before. However, now, the relationship between the cause and effect is very ambiguous. So, when a specific incident occurs, it takes a lot of time until we finally understand about that incident. And against this backdrop, COVID-19 is having a big impact on our economy. And there are many socio-economic impacts that COVID-19 is imposing on us, and the impact can be categorized into three groups: consumer, business, and global. First, the consumer side. There is a high demand for contactless services these days. There is also high demand for O2O service, which had been around even before COVID-19. O2O refers to online to offline or offline to online services. Now the demand for O2O service is expanding rapidly. And now, contactless payment method is increasingly favored. Also, self-service. With digital transformation accelerating and with the COVID-19 outbreak, we are seeing a growth of self-services, sharing service, or subscription-based services. So these are the trends on the consumer side. Now on the business side, digital transformation is accelerating, triggered by the changes happening among consumers. There is a high demand for robotic production in order to raise productivity. With digitalization, platform businesses are rising. On top of that, data and AI are growing in importance. And all of these are eventually putting pressure on companies to engage in personalized production. As you are well aware, globally we are witnessing the end of neoliberalism. Neoliberalism refers to an extreme form of liberalism. Globally, there had always been movement of goods, capital, and people. But under the concept of neoliberalism, all forms of movement have to be free. But now with COVID-19, this trend is fizzling out rapidly and protectionism is surging. With expanded protectionism, the global value chain is also undergoing changes. Production and logistics had been executed based on the global value chain. But with the global value chain breaking down and reconfigured, we are seeing the rise of a reshoring trend. I believe you're well aware of the fact that China used to be the global factory, but with increasing tension between China and the US, China's role is becoming more and more limited. And the rise of the commodity price is also boosting the reshoring trend. The US in particular is bringing back its manufacturing businesses, and other Western countries are also reshoring their manufacturing businesses. The fact that physical movement is challenging due to COVID-19 is triggering the digital cooperation trend. So what kind of impact would these trends have on our businesses over the short term, mid-term, and the long term? As you are well aware, the impacts would be different depending on which field you are in. But then overall, we're seeing revenue dropping, which is deepening financing issues and funding issues, which again aggravates employment insecurity. So businesses are hard-pressed to go through restructuring. Over the midterm, what kind of impact would we see? Now, in order to address these trends, we need to make our production process more efficient. We have to be addressing the ESG issues more rapidly. And here, consumer change is key. Consumers have strong preference for customized production or personalized services. So businesses have to build a foundation for personalized production, and they have to understand customers' needs based on data, and they have to integrate products and services to address those needs. And these kinds of changes will be emerging over the midterm. What about over the long term? We are seeing an accelerated pace of digital transformation, so we're going to see the survival of the fittest even in the digital realm. And we do need this digital transformation, and I will explain why we need it later in the presentation. So where would be a rise in on-demand service? So there will be a rise in on-demand services, and since on-demand service can be provided globally, it will be important to build global capability, and the key lies in ESG innovation, R&D capability to support the move. Considering the COVID-19 outbreak, I would like to focus on the two most important trends, which are digital transformation and ESG. I would like to elaborate on digital transformation and ESG and also touch upon what we have to do. Digital transformation is shifting the economic paradigm from a mass production system to a customized production system. In other words, we are seeing a shift to an on-demand economy. As you can see from this graph, in the past, we started off from a cottage industry and then moved on to mass production, and now we are transitioning to a customized or personalized production. But then for the small and medium-sized businesses, mass customization is almost impossible because it requires a lot of time and effort. And that is what we call the value cost dilemma. And digital transformation can help businesses address this dilemma. Then how do we do digital transformation? A lot of people would be confused, and many would understand digital transformation as simply AI, big data, and cloud computing. But that's not really what digital transformation is all about. It's about businesses standardizing, modularizing, and digitalizing their materials, processes, and resources, and controlling the offline resources from online, enabling on-demand services. So here's the thing. Why do we need digital transformation? The answer lies in on-demand service. On-demand service refers to a service that solves customers' problems at the time, place, and method of the customer's choosing. So what does that mean over the long term? Now, since the economy is moving towards an on-demand system, if businesses do not transform themselves into an on-demand service providers, they will fail, and digital transformation would be the foundation for providing on-demand services. And this diagram illustrates the overall trend. The existing offline data are moving into online. This helped data technology to advance, and by automating existing physical machines, process technology had been able to advance as well. And now these two are turning into product technology on the back of digital transformation. This trend includes the likes of smart machine and smart city. And this transformation is represented in the global top 10 market cap rankings as of December 2008. The top 10 list would include PetroChina, ExxonMobil, Gazprom, or Royal Dutch Shell, which are mostly energy companies. But as of May 2021, Apple tops the list. And we're seeing companies such as Microsoft. Energy companies like Saudi's Aramco is standing at number 3. Most of the companies are big tech such as Amazon, Google, Facebook, Tencent, Tesla, Alibaba. These companies are all digital service providers, and some are platform providers. So one concrete example of this change would be the following. In the past, if a child draws a picture of a doll, a unique one and only drawing of a doll in the world, it had been difficult to produce this doll because the plants will not make a single doll for this one child. But now things have changed. If the child draws a picture of her doll, take a photo of it and send it to this company, then it would pattern, print, and cut and make this doll all digitally. So this one and only doll can be made at a very affordable price. And that is what digital transformation can make available to us. And with COVID-19, the food industry is enjoying its heyday. Actually, livestock farming emits CO2 the most, and cows emit the most amount of CO2. But now, businesses are trying to produce meat not by livestock farming, but by combining water, air, and protein. So these companies such as Beyond Meat, Impossible, Memphis Meats are such meat makers. Just as a company that produces eggs with water, air, and protein, Moofree produces milk with water, air, and protein, and Finless Foods produces salmon and tuna with water, air, and protein. If you have these materials, you can also make your own food with a 3D printing service. So these are the changes that are occurring today. Now, luxury fashion brands such as Burberry is jumping on this bandwagon. Burberry's bespoke service allows their customers to design and order their own Burberry trench coats by themselves. And Burberry provides a silhouette, material, textile, color, design, all based on a customized service platform. They are providing a total of 1.2 million combinations.
Another such example of the smart factory of Siemens. Siemens is actively utilizing the digital twin technology. So the customers design themselves and the manufacturing is done real time. And 99.7% of the products can be produced within 24 hours. Now, the Siemens Smart Factory is utilizing IoT, Internet of Things. And what's important here is that this factory can change the production line setup about 5,000 times a year, which is a very high level of customization realized in order to produce more than 1,000 different types of products. So these technologies are resolving the value cost dilemma. Let's now talk about ESG. With the COVID-19 pandemic, the climate change is being emphasized much more than before. And based on the Paris Agreement in 2016, governments around the world agreed that they will reach net zero emissions by 2050. Korea also pledged to cut emissions by 40% by 2030 to achieve net zero by 2050. Investors around the world are taking into consideration ESG elements in their investing decisions. So these are some numbers that show global ESG investment trends. So in 2016, the ESG investment scale was $7.8 trillion, and in 2019, it was $13.8 trillion. It's not just in the North America or Europe; it's the same around the world. So in the 3 years between 2016 and 2019, the annual growth rate was more than 20%. And in this growth, public pension funds and institutional investors have driven this change. And basically, investors are divesting from enterprises not conducting ESG management, and they are integrating ESG in their investing decisions increasingly. So what is ESG? It's the environment, social, and governance. In the environment, the enterprises focus on fighting climate change, restoration of natural capital, and creating new business opportunities in clean technology, new and renewable energy, green building, and so on. In social, the enterprises focus on nurturing human capital, responsibility of their products, and working with various stakeholders. In governance, transparency of the governance structure, anti-corruption, and instability are key issues. And as you may well know, what's most critical in ESG investment is whether ESG actually helps corporate performance. When we take a look at these numbers, we can see that the enterprises that excel at ESG actually have better performance. But there are some remaining issues, like the lack of transparency, and difficulty in measuring and managing risk. So the digital transformation is going on, ESG is drawing the attention. And what should the enterprises do? I believe there are 5 main pillars. So with the focus on ESG innovation and digital transformation, enterprises have to achieve business model innovation based on data. And since this innovation can't be done alone, partnership is critical. So who do you need to partner with? Now, large businesses are investing and leading the transformation. And the large platforms or big tech, big techs are even reaching monopoly in the market. In contrast, small and medium-sized enterprises or SMEs cannot make a huge investment in digital transformation. And they are late in responding to ESG trend. So they're losing competitiveness. In particular, there are two issues for social economy. The first one is value cost dilemma that I mentioned earlier. So I want to go on demand, but it costs just too much. I want to go ESG, but it costs too much. How should we solve this issue? And the second issue, related to the first one, is the small size of social economy enterprises. So the economy of scale doesn't work for them. With a small size, they don't have the capacity to pursue digital transformation or ESG management. And actually, in digital economy, the economy of scope is also critical, as some of you have heard in the long tail discussion. And it's difficult for social economy enterprises to work with other social economy enterprises since they have simple business models. So there are some issues in this era of great transition. The marginalization and inequality of the socially vulnerable, the widening rich-poor gap, increasing instability in the economy, politics, and the society. So what should we do? We have to actively respond to the issues with innovation. And what's interesting in this context is the fact that in 2010, Cameron put forward this idea of big society as an alternative to restore the public value, democracy, and autonomy in the society in order to resolve the failure of both the government and the market. In other words, we have to now emphasize a sense of community and social value. For enterprises, the key issue will be network cooperation and business cooperatives. So network cooperation is about partnering with other enterprises. And when this partnership is more institutionalized, they can evolve into cooperatives. So with cooperation, they can achieve economy of scale and economy of scope and utilize common brand and provide knowledge services. One such example is the commercial cooperative in France. Now, the commercial cooperative commercial cooperatives in France account for about 30% in the retail market in more than 30 different sectors as of 2014. They account for 7% of the national GDP. Now, there are 89 commercial cooperatives with more than 31,000 member small businesses. And what's interesting is that in any economic situation, including economic crises, cooperatives, commercial cooperatives in France have been more stable than other for-profit franchise networks. And when it comes to the number of premises and employment, commercial cooperatives are also growing continuously. So let me get to the closing. So what are the challenges ahead of us? ESG innovation utilizing digital transformation with the ultimate goal of providing on-demand service. Now, ESG is a very strong initiative that all enterprises now have to follow in order to gain customer base. So it is a must. And it should be based on digital transformation. And what's also important is something that we often disregard. So you want to create the most eco-friendly product, but at the same time, you also want to appeal to consumers so that your products can sell. And for that, you need a unique design strategy. In which you have to think about the changes in your product and service, and it is only possible by partnering with other actors in social economy. Now, all these cannot be done in social economy alone. You need public support. So earlier I talked about the need for a sense of community. And actually, my generation wasn't really educated on community values, and I think the younger generation is no better. So we have to nurture experts who can encourage cooperation. We also need education on cooperation and partnership. And when we pursue network cooperation or organize cooperatives with these experts and educated people, we need support initiatives. And a key here is creation of a fund specialized in cooperative initiatives. So it's not a general purpose fund to support cooperatives. It's only for partnership and cooperative initiatives. And for co-ops to succeed, you have to overcome certain challenges. First of all, you need to gain the trust of its members that it can succeed. And also the trust of the members too, that it can be operated professionally. And you have to make sure that the cooperative members will not take their own path separately after making a lot of money. So again, we are going through a digital transformation, and the reason for that is to provide on-demand services for consumers. In other words, helping consumers solve their problems anytime, anywhere. And with these changes, we have to have a new attitude considering sustainable development and addressing environmental issues and social issues and governance issues in order to survive and succeed. And all these challenges cannot be done by a single social economy enterprise because it's small and inexperienced. And these small enterprises have to work together in order to achieve economy of scale and the economy of scope, and create brand identity and gain more bargaining power. And co-ops themselves are not a guarantee for success. They have to be more cohesive, which can be encouraged by active investment. Thank you for listening.